Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. In today's video, I am going to be discussing last night's game between the Milwaukee Bucks and the Toronto Raptors. However, before I get too far into it, I would like to remind you all to leave a like and subscribe. I've been appreciating all the support that I've been receiving lately, and I hope to see that continue. We made it to 200 subscribers. I am so happy to have made it this far, and I'm going to work really hard to continue this rapid growth. Now, without further ado, let's talk about the game. This was a really fun one in which we saw both teams kind of go back and forth before the Bucks were kind of able to take control. The Raptors continued fighting throughout the game, but Khris Middleton was able to knock down some huge shots in the fourth quarter for the Bucks to really ice this one, and they came away with a 115-108 victory. Brook Lopez had his best game of the season for Milwaukee. He finished with 20 points and 7 rebounds on 8 for 11 shooting and was 2 for 3 from beyond the arc. Lopez has been someone who I was a little worried about being a regression candidate heading into this season. And so far, he has been okay, but I wouldn't say that he has been the best version of himself. On the defensive end, he hasn't been protecting the rim at the same level, and he hasn't been as impactful. On offense, he's still shooting threes at the same rate and knocking them down at the same efficiency, but his impact as a guy who can take advantage of mismatches in the post and his volume as a two-point scorer has really declined. So it was good to see him get back to old-fashioned Brook. My dad and I always like to say that he plays in slow motion because a lot of times when he is making plays for himself off the dribble, it does appear that he is moving in slow-mo. He's not the quickest guy out there. He's probably one of the 5 slowest players in the NBA. Not sure exactly where he ranks. I'd have to think about it a bit more, but he's right up there. But it's effective, and he's able to use his strength and size in order to generate good shots for himself inside. We haven't seen him do that too much this year, as I said before, so this was definitely a good sign from Brook and something that I hope he's able to replicate. We really needed him to step up and take on this kind of scoring load because Jrue Holiday and Donte DiVincenzo struggled a little bit in tonight's game. Holiday finished with 7 points on 3 for 14 shooting. DiVincenzo had 8 points on 2 for 9 shooting. And a lot of the times when our starting backcourt performs that poorly, it's going to be a struggle to win, especially when we're playing a quality team like the Raptors. But because of Lopez's step up on offense and his contributions there, the Bucks ended up being all right, and they were still able to win. Like I said, Holiday and DiVincenzo struggled offensively, but on defense, they really stepped up their game tonight. They were able to shut down Fred VanVleet, who had one of his worst games of the year, shooting the ball at least. He was distributing the ball efficiently as he finished with 10 assists, but scoring-wise, he only had 10 points on 3 for 17 shooting and hit just 2 of his 11 three-point attempts. Obviously, that is a very inefficient night for FVV. And I give a lot of credit to Holiday and DiVincenzo for shutting him down on that end of the court. Khris Middleton also spent some time on Fred, and he was also able to really limit what he was able to do. All 3 of those guys have plus wingspans, and they were able to use those wingspans and use that length to really take advantage of Fred VanVleet. Getting back to the Bucks' offense, however, their big 2 had pretty good games tonight, and they finished a trio of 20-plus point scorers as Giannis had 24, 18, and 9 on 8 for 14 shooting and was 8 for 14 from the free throw line. Khris had 24, 10, and 7 on 8 for 17 shooting, 5 for 8 from 3. Both of those guys had pretty solid nights. I really want to touch on Giannis, as I think this season he has improved exponentially as a playmaker, as we've seen him start to shy away from those just boneheaded drives where he ends up taking a bad shot at the rim or plowing into someone for a charge. Now, earlier in the season, that's not something that he was doing a good job of limiting. As recently as the game against the Lakers last week, he was still really struggling with that whole rule about how charges are a thing. So the fact that he was able to limit himself tonight, as well as in the game on Sunday, I forget who they played all of a sudden, I'm drawing a blank, but Giannis has improved since that Lakers game, and he's done a better job of looking for kickouts, and that's led to his playmaking improving as he finished with 9 assists tonight. Middleton had a pretty standard Chris Middleton game. As I said, 24 points on good efficiency. He looked really good knocking down shots from the perimeter as always, and what stood out to me from his performance was that he picked up a technical foul in the third quarter, and he responded to that very strongly as he was able to knock down a 3 on the very next Bucks possession, and he was very aggressive looking for his own shot following that technical. So that was a very good sign from Chris. Off the bench, the Bucks had some solid performances from DJ Augustin and Bryn Forbes. Both put up very similar stat lines, as Augustin had 9 points on 3 for 6 3-point shooting, and guess what? Forbes also had 9 points on 3 for 6 3-point shooting. So these two essentially had identical stat lines, and they both need to knock down shots at that level. That's all the Bucks need them to do. They need them to come in the game and knock down catch-and-shoot threes. And both of them have done a pretty good job of that. I especially enjoy watching the inverted pick and roll between Giannis and Bryn Forbes. It seems to be a play that the Bucks are able to run 2 or 3 times per game, and almost every time they're either able to create a mismatch for Giannis that he's able to take advantage of, or a wide open look for Bryn Forbes from downtown, and as he is a 40+% shooter from 3, both this season and for his career as a whole, that's going to be a good look. So a nice performance from the Bucks bench guards tonight. Bobby Portis wasn't as effective as he has been in other games, but he certainly wasn't terrible either. And we did see Torrey Craig get some more minutes, as that's something that I've been looking for Mike Budenholzer to do ever since he cleared medical after breaking his nose earlier. And Craig wasn't super impactful. I don't know if he even scored in tonight's game, but he did a great job defensively, is always going to be a good team defender, and I remember a couple occasions in which he had spectacular defensive plays, whether it was a hustle play or a chase down block of Fred VanVleet. That certainly was the standout from Craig tonight. But another thing that was promising to me was that down the stretch, the Raptors went with a lineup of Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam, Norman Powell, and Stanley Johnson, which is obviously 5 guards and forwards. And in response to that, Bud instituted a lineup of Holiday, DiVincenzo, Craig, Middleton, and Antetokounmpo, playing Giannis at the 5, which is an adjustment that he's been hesitant to make in the past. So the fact that that was a lineup the Bucks tried out, and the fact that Torrey Craig was out there, was an encouraging sign for me, and something that I'm going to be looking for the Bucks to try out a little bit more in the future. Moving on to the Raptors side of things, Norman Powell had a really nice game for them. Powell is a guy that I've liked quite a bit for a little while now, and I think that he is just a really high-level scorer as a bench player in this league. He got off to a really poor start to the season, but at least in the 2 games I've seen him this week, game 1 of their 2-game set against the Pacers, and then obviously the game against the Bucks tonight, I was really impressed by what Powell was able to do as a scorer. He had 26 points tonight on 8 for 13 shooting, knocked down 5 of his 7 3-point attempts, and got to the free throw line 6 times where he made 5 of those. Powell is just someone who's able to score at all 3 levels. He's aggressive attacking the rim and is not afraid to try to flush down a vicious slam dunk attempt on opposing big men. He is a capable player in the in-between game, although his floater isn't super efficient and is something that I'd like to see him stay away from a bit more. And he is a pretty good 3-point shooter. That's where he struggled to open the season, but 5 for 7 performance tonight is definitely a good sign for Norman. I think that he is a very intriguing player, especially as an unrestricted free agent heading into this offseason, and I will be interested to see what kind of deal he's able to get on the open market and whether or not he will be returning to the Toronto Raptors, as they obviously have some higher goals than just retaining Powell for this free agency period. Kyle Lowry also had a pretty solid game for the Raptors, finishing with 21 points on 7 for 12 shooting. Once again, similar to Powell, he was able to knock down threes at a high level as he went 6 for 8 from the 3-point line. The play that stood out to me from Lowry tonight was his unfortunate flagrant foul in which he poked Dante DiVincenzo in the eye. I was not a fan of that play whatsoever. But, yeah, that's what stood out. His three-point shooting was very good tonight, as, like I said, he was able to knock down 75% of his attempts, and that's definitely good. Not sure I have too much else to say about Kyle Lowry. He made his usual hustle plays on the defensive end of the floor, took a couple of charges, forced a couple turnovers. Kyle Lowry stuff, everyone. Pascal Siakam struggled a little bit, had 11 points and 9 rebounds on 5 for 12 shooting. I thought that he was actually going to have a pretty solid game tonight as he opened up by knocking down a pull-up 3 as well as a mid-range jumper. He had 5 of the Raptors' first maybe 8 points, and after that he kind of disappeared for a large portion of this game. He wasn't being too aggressive looking for his shot, and the Raptors probably needed him to put in more than 11 points if they wanted to knock off this Bucks team tonight. I haven't seen too much of the Raptors. I think this is only the third game I've seen them play so far this season, but they need a lot from Siakam. They need him to play at that all-star level he did last year in order for them to be in the mix for maybe like the 5th or 6th seed. I'm sure that this team still aspires to make it into those top 6 seeds and avoid the play-in tournament, but they need Pascal to step it up. I think he has of late, but as I said, I haven't been too impressed in the games that I have seen him play. The two big guys also struggled a little bit tonight for the Raptors. Aaron Baines probably had one of his best games of the season statistically as he had 11 points, but that came on 5 for 12 shooting, and he was just 1 for 7 from 3. He also struggled defensively. He did put up 3 blocks, but overall I just don't think he's too impactful, and his presence isn't really felt as a rim protector. And on offense, Brook Lopez just flat out was not guarding him. He was able to take 12 shots and 7 threes because the Bucks were just ignoring him on the defensive end of the floor. That killed the Raptors' spacing, and I just really question how valuable of a player Aaron Baines is for them. I think at some point they're going to have to move to a rotation where Chris Boucher is the only true 5 guy they're playing, and the rest of the time they're going with a bit of a small ball look with either OG Anunoby, Stanley Johnson, or Pascal Siakam playing the 5 position. Chris Boucher is the last guy to touch on here. Wasn't super impressed with what I saw from him today. I get that he's had an improved season offensively, but on defense, outside of the blocked shots, I don't think that he's actually that good of a rim protector. There's a difference between being a shot blocker and a rim protector, and I think that Boucher is much more of the former. However, that's not the only flaw I see in his game. He also really struggles to rebound the ball, and if he's forced to put the ball on the ground and dribble a little bit, I'm not sure that that's something I love if I am a Raptors fan. So, the big man rotation for the Raptors is not my favorite. I think that they probably need to improve that, and if they would be able to trade for someone like LaMarcus Aldridge or Andre Drummond, then that would make a lot of sense to me for this Raptors team, and I think that it would probably make them, well, at least a little bit better, if not quite a bit better, as I think those two guys are still capable of impacting winning on a solid team. I think that I have covered everything that I wanted to cover here. Leave a like and subscribe if you did enjoy this video. Let me know what you thought of this game in the comment section down below. That's going to be it for me. Ladies and gentlemen, I will see you all again very soon.